Hey team, welcome back to the Music Majors Club Unpacked. My name is Jesse, and today we are finally listening to the brand new album, The Life of a Showgirl by Taylor Swift. Y'all, it's been a long time coming, but we are finally getting this album, and we've got a whole lot going on here on the channel, so be sure to like, subscribe, do all the things, join our community. We are so excited to have you here to talk all things music, listening to music, teaching music, everything music, so be sure to join. Today on set, we have quite literally a new set. We have had a lot of changes here in the Music Majors Club household in more ways than one, and we have a whole new set. We're in a different space. I am so excited to kind of debut that here in the concept of The Life of a Showgirl. Why not be a bit showy here and have a whole new set, fresh mindset, fresh space, and even a new logo, which we absolutely love. Everything is new here on the channel, so this is just like such a cool time to be around and be here. Shout out to my bestie JB for creating this iconic logo. I am so excited to enter this kind of new chapter and new era with that in mind. And the reason we're in here is because guess what? This is our new guest room, creative room space between me and my no longer girlfriend, but fiance. Hey, crazy, the crowd goes wild. Brr, brr, brr. I know I don't share too much about my personal life on the channel, but that is what's going on. Shout out to Jamie. So we have a couple of her little trinkets here on set. I've had this piece before in my previous videos, but we've got a couple of really cool things here to showcase. One of them even being a friendship bracelet from Sarah, who gave this to Jamie. Shout out. This is a rep bracelet, which is so cool. Thank you so much. And ironically, I think Jamie wore the Life of a Showgirl bracelet that she also gave her today to work. Instead of leaving that one here for me to wear for the video, it kind of would have matched my vibe a little bit more, but that's okay. We have it here on the channel. I would have worn the blue and orange one, but I'll wear it at a later date, because otherwise here on the channel, we've got all things Life of a Showgirl kind of inspired. I'm trying to rock some gold. I'm kind of trying to rock some bling here to look a little bit showy, kind of let the whole place shimmer in a way. I have some of my other Taylor Swift merch here. I've got the iconic TTPD snow globe. I have another snow globe from her as well, the folklore snow globe, and a couple other just like gold little trinkets here in the space. So that's kind of what I have going on the set as far as Life of a Showgirl related content. As far as everything else Taylor goes, I feel like most of us weren't really over the TTPD era in some ways, but it is exciting that we're getting into a more possibly joyous, exciting phase and era and leaving the kind of like dark, mellow and gloomy era behind. In my experience, Taylor's really known for doing a lot of music in that kind of feel and vibe, but a lot of her roots and mainstream music is based in pop and a lot of the concept that hopefully we're getting in this new album. Now, my experience with Taylor goes back really to Folklore. That was my first real album that I got into myself during COVID. I have a whole unpack on that as well if you want to go check that out. And it's funny because that kind of was like that mellow and melancholy vibe and really just a more maybe sad vibe that kind of I needed at the time, especially because it was during COVID, it was during lockdown, but that's when I really started getting into Taylor Swift. And then right behind Folklore was Evermore, of course, and I absolutely loved that. And I've really been into every era since. I absolutely loved Midnights, and I do really love a lot of TTPD. But overall, I think that we're all kind of ready for a more, hopefully, like poppy, upbeat, happy era. And that's kind of where Taylor is in her life in some ways, so we might as well celebrate that with her. And speaking of engaged, I'm just saying, it is crazy to think that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged, and myself and Jamie are also engaged. I mean, I saw a TikTok that said that that's kind of like an elite couple thing, and I'm just saying, it really is kind of wild. Like, who would have ever thought that that would be something that happened in my life? Like, what a sign, what a real just way of the universe being like, you did that right, you know? So I gotta say that's pretty crazy, but I'm really excited to see how that reflects into this album. I'm expecting her to have just that positive impact of her engagement, the positivity from her relationship, really being in the best space of her life, I think, and the most successful in her career. In some ways, I kind of believe the speculation that maybe this was an album that she created before TTPD or during TTPD, and it was unexpected. And in some ways, I kind of do believe the concept where she created this album in a way of maybe she was recording Reputation, some of those vault tracks. This is a whole fan theory, of course. And then she realized how much of a positive space she was in, working with some of her previous producers like Max Martin, and realized like, hey, we really could actually make a whole new album using our vibe. I can kind of see that. And who knows what the timeline always is. There's always things that kind of get in the way between what we see in reality and what goes on behind the scenes, of course. But I could kind of see how TTBD was not part of the plan, and then Midnight's was supposed to be, and then Life of a Showgirl also like intertwined and kind of, I don't know, I feel like the roadmap is just all over the place with the album trajectory, you know? So who knows? All we can do is speculate, and at this time, the real rumor is that Reputation vault tracks are coming next, allegedly. At the time of this recording, this is the next day. This is October 3rd, like morning of October 3rd. We didn't stay up all night till midnight. I'm sorry. I did that for TTPD, and I was like, I am just this. I'm too old for this. I cannot stay up till 3 a.m. Filming, recording. That's the same thing. Editing, sleeping. Like, it's too much. And then especially after part 1 of TTPD released, when I finished recording at like 3 a.m., TTPD part 2 released, and I said, I'm going to bed. I can't do all of this. So needless to say, this is the next day, and whatever, it's fine. But at the time of this recording, there's only been just the 13 tracks released. That's all that I see that are out. So if there's something else coming, future Jesse, we'll deal with that then. But anyways, the album trajectory, who knows? We're just here for the listen. We're here for the experience. We're here for whatever Taylor's releasing. I'm excited. This is just like a moment in time that I feel like every time Taylor Swift releases an album, it is like the whole world just stops and is ready for it. You know, the fact that she's just at the height of her career, she's the biggest pop star in the world, she's the most influential artist, she's won all these acclamates, she's just at the top of her game, and I feel like this is just a really, really awesome time to be a Taylor Swift fan. And in some ways, if you're still not a Taylor Swift fan or you just hate Taylor Swift to hate Taylor Swift, that's okay. This could be your chance to come in. Honestly, just let loose a little bit, like who cares? Anyways, so from the engagement to the announcement of the new album on Travis's podcast, truly what a time to be alive. I think most of us thought that after the Eras tour, she was really going to take a break, and she did. And to be honest, I really was not expecting all of this to come from after doing the Eras tour. I really thought she was going to be on like a real long hiatus. I thought that TTPD ended with the anthology in a really nice space. I feel like it really wrapped a nice bow on her discography, really. And this kind of disrupts that, I feel. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting going into a lot of the promo and some of the things that have been released so far, like the imagery, the breaking of the glass, the exit doors, the exit signs, any of that kind of stuff. I feel like this is just, I don't know, it's disrupting where I thought Taylor was. I really didn't expect any more music from her for a while. It seemed like she wanted to kind of settle down, get married, have a family, and do all those wonderful things. And maybe she is. Maybe she's doing that kind of like behind closed doors, which also is totally fine. I don't think we need to see every single thing that she does. But I was a little bit caught off guard when she announced a new album because, like, I didn't expect that. With no more time being wasted, let's start taking a look at the album, The Life of a Showgirl. This is TS12, as some say. And I don't know, I feel like this is her return to pop music, her working with all of her previous pop people. Max Martin, Shellback. I'm really excited to hear how possibly this is her return into the pop space. We have 13 tracks. We are clocking in at 42 minutes. 13 tracks. Hello. Whoa. 13. 42 minutes so far. Oh, it's actually only 12 because 13 is like the little promo. But either way. PSA, the way that I do my reaction videos is I typically listen to the entire song by itself. I know, burn me at the stake. I don't pause. I don't go through and make little snippets and give little comments here and there through pausing. I do give my feedback and my comments in the moment, but it takes a ton of editing to pause and reset and pause and reset, and it's just like a lot of work. So if you hate that, I'm so sorry, but I also want to hear the entire sonic experience of the song by listening to it in its entirety. I feel like pausing kind of breaks and does not allow for the full experience to be experienced. So that's just a peek behind the curtain how I do things here at the Music Majors Club. Hopefully you love it. It's time to get into the life of a showgirl, y'all. I'm nervous. I mean, I don't know what to expect here. I think going into the album, my most anticipated, honestly, I've stayed offline social media. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard any of the songs. I don't know any of the speculation. I've done my due diligence not to have any biased opinions going into my first listen as a true live reaction. I feel like The Fate of Ophelia is possibly going to be one of my favorites just based on some of the imagery that we've seen. I like to think Cancelled would be kind of cool because it has that different like font and it has a little bit of different appearance. And then, of course, Life of a Showgirl featuring Sabrina Carpenter. I highly anticipate that to be a pretty good song, too. In true Taylor Swift fashion, cats disrupting a video and cat hair flying everywhere just kind of feels right. This is iconic. All right, after my first listen, The Life of a Showgirl, we made it, team. 12 tracks. That was super fun, that was super, I always say this, but different than what I was expecting. I will say, I'm sure a few different listens will give me different experiences, but I was expecting more up pop, you know, bangers in a way. She had a few. She had a few, but I think in some ways it's kind of nice that she still paid some respect to her classic vibe and style. I think a lot of people were expecting this album to be more like Style, ironically, in, a 1989 era. I think people were expecting, because it was Max Martin and Shellback, that people were going to be we were going to be getting these upbeat pop bangers. And that's not necessarily where she's probably at anymore, Taylor Swift has really evolved over the years. She's not just mainstream pop. I mean, of course, she has some of the biggest mainstream pop songs of all time with these producers. But she doesn't have to do that anymore. She doesn't have to give that again. She can if she wants to, but she can give us something new and different. And she even explored a couple different genres in this album. And I think that's actually more probably respectable as an artist in a way, to not just do the same thing that she's already done. She could have, but she didn't have to. For me, I think my favorite songs, I mean, come on. I think number 1 is Canceled. And I think number 2 is Honey. I mean, those were just my favorites upon my first listen, the biggest vibes, the most fun. I don't know what number 3 is. Is it Elizabeth Taylor? I don't know. It's so hard after your first listen to like really choose your tops. I think at least those 2 for sure. From Canceled to Honey, those have to be my number 1s in a way, my favorites. I cannot wait to go back and listen to those first, and then really digest the rest of the album. Maybe I'll do a final thoughts after I've listened to everything to really circle back to my favorites, knowing where I was right now. What a ride, what an experience. It definitely did not have as much, like I mentioned, upbeat pop, but it also did not have as much of the negative side of that life of the showgirl. It actually had some of the more positive sides, I think, and the positive vibes of where she's at today and her relationship and Travis and all those good things. There were certainly some peaks behind that showbiz curtain that we got to see, but not as much as I was expecting. And I actually am happy that it wasn't just like, oh, I can do it with a broken heart and everything kind of sucks being a showgirl. Like, that's kind of where I was expecting this to go in a way, and talking about all of those negative experiences that she's had being an artist and being Taylor Swift and being on the Eras tour. But in some ways, I'm really glad that we got to see more of like her relationship. We got to hear the positive sides of what it takes to go through the strife and go through the hard times and to find love, fall in love, fall out of love, and then to finally find the one in the end. So I'm really, I don't know. I feel like whether you know Taylor Swift or not, that she's kind of grown up in the industry. That she's had relationships that have been great, that have sucked, and there's just no way to not be happy for her, I think, because why would you not be happy for someone's success, to circle back to that concept? And I think she did a really good job painting that picture, and I think that's something that more people need to hear now than ever. So I loved it. I'm excited to get back into it. We'll do a final thoughts. I'll circle back to give you my real opinions on everything, but what were your favorites? What were some of your standouts? What are some things that I missed? I know, we'll hear it in the comments. I didn't stop and pause. We get it. But let me know what your thoughts are on the album and where you are right now after listening to it for a few times. Be sure to become a music major, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.